And welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit. Here, absolutely thrilled to be back for another massive episode off the back of what's been a huge week of basketball action. Now, certainly all talk has been surrounding the Olympics. It has been tremendous, to say the least. A lot of fascinating storylines that have played out so far, and plenty more still to play out. The big theme for today's show is going to be focused around some of those key takeaways thus far and the implications they might have going into next NBA season. It'll all make a little more sense momentarily. Also got some odds and ends to rip into as well. Some big moves being made in the offseason from the NBA. Before we do so, though, a big shout out to both Stadium Scene and The Cover. Very proud to continue to be a part of those two networks, showcasing all my work here, as well as a whole host of other content creators in and around Australia, New Zealand, the US, and Canada. Very appreciative for all your continued hard work and support, guys. Okay, let's not stand on ceremony. I want to get straight into things with some odds and ends. And as I said, a little bit of player movement this week, namely Tyus Jones signing a one-year $3.3 million deal with the Phoenix Suns. Now, a former colleague and mate of mine, Lockie McCarthy, a bit of a bowler in his own right, a hell of a three-point stroke on him. We're super high on this guy. We've spoken quite extensively, him and I, passing the time, watching the clock go by, about Tyus Jones and his ability to impact the game. I think this is a massive get for the Phoenix Suns. He averaged 12 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, and shot 41.5% from 3 last season. And what he'll bring to the Suns is just another layer of composure and a passing ability that's like, he's a guy on this team that doesn't need to score to be effective. We look at KD, we look at Bill, we look at Booker. These guys are 3 heavy-hitting offensive threats. Tyus Jones is just going to complement them really nicely without having to be a star. I love that it's going to take Grayson Allen off the starting lineup, force him to the bench, which in this day and age of NBA, we've seen that so many teams love having this sixth man that can come out and just shoot the lights out. Grayson Allen is that to a T. Now, for Jones, he's getting severely underpaid here. $3.3 million, one-year deal, though. He is in the best position there in Phoenix to really up his value and push hard in next year's free agency and get quite a lucrative deal, I would imagine. I would anticipate he's in the $15 to $20 million a season category. But this year for him, it'll just be about building that value, putting some really effective performances on the board, and build upon the great work that he did with the Wizards last year. Fantastic get, though, for the Phoenix Suns. Really adds another layer to their team and helps build that depth as well. In other news, free agent Precious Achiuwa has agreed on a one-year $6 million deal to return to the Knicks. Played 74 games last season, averaging 7.5 points and 6.5 rebounds. Now, he certainly had a lot more opportunity to flourish and grow his game after coming over from the Raptors. Looked like a new player there with the Knicks. And with Isaiah Hartenstein heading to the Thunder and Mitchell Robinson with health concerns that I'm sure will persist somewhat, he should get plenty of opportunity to continue to grow and develop his game. I think there in New York, he's in the perfect position. As I said, plenty of opportunity. I expect him to be a key cog in their push to go even one step further in the playoffs next season. Former friend of the show, former one-time friend of the show, Devontae Graham, has agreed on a one-year deal with the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, in what was a bit of a shock to me as I was kind of assessing this during the week, he's 29 years of age. Probably hasn't had the career that many thought he would, me included. Second season within the league in the 1920 season, won most improved player, averaged a little over 18 points a game. He's shown that he's got the talent. He just hasn't been able to show the consistency with it. Now, with hopefully plenty of opportunity there in Portland, hopefully he can get back to his best ball. Portland are a team that have very low to almost zero expectations on them heading into next season. Hopefully Graham there can be a bit of a contributor and, as I said, get back to some of his best ball that we know he's capable of. Certainly been a very quiet few years on the Devontae Graham front. A bigger name player, Russell Westbrook, has officially this week signed a 2-year, $6.8 million contract with the Denver Nuggets. We spoke about this over the course of the last few weeks, the likelihood of this getting done. It is now officially done. Denver's lacked competent depth. They've lacked experience. Russ is going to have a great opportunity to guide and lead this second unit. For me, it's really interesting to see what the next phase of his career looks like. Former MVP, he started to tail off a little bit in recent years. Can he now embrace the role of just being a locker room leader, being a real on-floor general for the second unit, and just kind of tailoring his game a little bit? We know that shooting's not his strong point. Still incredible on-court IQ. If he can help bring some of these younger Denver Nugget players into the game, will be nothing but beneficial, I think. Luke Kennard has agreed on a new one-year, $11 million deal to stay with the Memphis Grizzlies. A career 44% three-point shooter, one of the most revered three-point shooters in the league. He's going to be a key part of the Grizzlies' push towards the playoffs again next season. Now, again, a team that's kind of fallen. They fell short of expectations last year, due in big part to injury. They just could not buy a trick. If you tuned into last week's show, my Western Conference season grades, you would have heard me go into a little more detail about the Grizz. I think they're in for quite a big year. I don't think they'll be up in and around the top of the Western Conference, but I think they're certainly going to bounce back and turn a few heads once again. And I think Kennard will play a big role in that. Announced earlier today at the time of recording this one on Friday evening, earlier today, after 14 NBA seasons, Gordon Hayward officially announced his retirement. He was a 2017 All-Star in Utah there. He's played for the Jazz, Celtics, Hornets, and Thunder across his career. Was the number 9 overall pick in 2010. Across his career, averaged 15 points, 4.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Across his 835 games within the league, should I say, just showed a real consistency. He was never that kind of out-and-out superstar player. He was never a bottom-out player either. He was just a really kind of middle-of-the-road, did his job, did it consistently, and did it well. Hell of a career there for Gordon Hayward. 34 years of age, though. I think he's still got plenty in the tank, despite some of the injuries he's had. I think this would have been a perfect opportunity for the NBL to make a push for him. Would have been a great replacement for Jack McVay in the Jack Jumpers there, who's just departed to the Houston Rockets. I think these are players like this the league should be targeting. As I said, 34, I think he's still got a little bit in the tank, but regardless of how it plays out, a fantastic career there for Gordon Hayward. Finally, from reports that have gone around during the week, an anonymous member of the Chicago Bulls playing squad has slammed Zach LaVine, and I quote, "He's never won. He's done it his way the whole way and never won. If he's interested in winning, he'll do what's asked of him. And if he's motivated to not be here, one way is to come. Be compliant and be who he is." Now, it's been talked for the best part of 6 to 12 months that LaVine will be on the way out. That being said, I think if Zach LaVine stays with the Bulls, they're a sneaky dark horse playoff team. I'm certainly not suggesting they'll be top of the playoff standings, but a 7th, 8th spot is certainly a feasible outlook for them. With the strides they've made in their young players there, Pat Williams, Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, alongside Nikola Vucevic and LaVine if he stays, that is the makings of a team that could, I think, potentially turn some heads still. What do you guys think? Let me know. I'll get into Bulls talk a little more later on in the show, but I don't know. I think that's almost a little bit unfair of LaVine. I don't think he's shown any, he's tried to buy in as much as possible. The franchise has been poorly run. He is a byproduct of a poorly run franchise. I don't think he's a superstar player within the league. I think he's a star player that could still do a hell of a role. And, as I said, Kobe White made strides offensively. Pat Williams as well, Dosunmu. Zach LaVine's still the guy that you want to close out a game, who's going to get you a bucket. If he stays with the Bulls, I think would be advantageous for them, to say the least. Nevertheless, as I said, we'll talk a little bit more Bulls shortly. Okay, there you have it, guys. Odds and ends. Let's push ahead.
Daily Dribble.
So I wanted to speak about my Olympic takeaways so far. Now, some of these points come from the Olympics, but tie in with the NBA quite nicely, I think. Would love to hear from you guys on the socials. You've been blowing them up this week off the back of my Eastern and Western Conference season grades. Would love to hear what you've enjoyed or disliked about the Olympics thus far. Be sure to hit up the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok to let me know your thoughts. There's been plenty of content flying from across those socials during the week. And you guys have really, as I said, been rampant, letting me know your thoughts on everything so far, but be sure to keep it coming. Okay, I wanted to start firstly with Serbia and essentially Denver need to limit how long Jokic is on the bench. Now, this might seem like a bit of a no-brainer. The USA and Serbia kicked off Group C action on Monday. The US won this matchup 110-84, a pretty comprehensive victory there. In the matchup, Jokic played 81 minutes. Oh, sorry, he played 31 minutes. In the time he was on court, in the 31 minutes he was on court, the scores were 81 apiece. They were holding the star-studded US team 81 apiece when Jokic was on court. That meaning for the 9 minutes that Nikola Jokic was on the bench, the USA outscored Serbia 29-3. That is just absolutely crazy. That is crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. I know what an impactful player he is and how much attention and offensively what he provides. But to score 3 points in 9 minutes is just ridiculous. For the Nuggets in the regular season, though, when Jokic was on the court, they had an offensive rating of 122.4 versus when he was off the court, it dipped to 104.1. Not just defensively, it's the impact of Jokic. Also defensively, when he was on the court, they were at 110.6. Versus off the court, they dipped to 112.8. Now, Jokic played 79 games across the regular season at 34.5 minutes per game. The question is, what do they do when he's not on the court? Now, Dario Saric has just been signed. DeAndre Jordan, they're your backup bigs. Plays 40 minutes a game when the playoffs is going, which is fine. But that's still 8 minutes there in the playoffs. What's that? 13.5 minutes in the regular season. These are key minutes for the Nuggets. If they want to be a successful championship-winning team again, they need to limit the damage that's done in those moments. Now, this is something I'll be certainly keeping a close eye on. I'm not expecting, the rest of the team or these backup players to excel when he's off the court. But as I said, you just need to limit the damage. And likewise for Serbia, ties across with the Nuggets, limit the damage. There's undeniably going to be a little bit of a lapse. But 29-3, that effectively just rips the ball game out of your control. So that is something I will be paying very close attention to for the rest of Serbia's run here in the Olympics, and likewise for Denver next season. My next point, where does Jason Tatum fit in the NBA hierarchy? Now, for the Olympics here, he didn't play versus Serbia at all in their opening game. He played 17 minutes versus South Sudan in what was a bit of a blowout. For me, he's kind of a 1A, 1B player with the Celtics. It's kind of interchangeable on any given night there, depending on how Jaylen Brown's going. In this team, with the national team, he well and truly slips down the pecking order. He's playing with the elite of the elite in the NBA. In world basketball, it just makes me kind of think, what tier does he fit in within the NBA? I certainly don't think he's in that top tier. You look at the Luka Doncic, the Giannis's, the Jokic's, etc., etc. That's kind of your top of the NBA pyramid. I think Tatum more falls in that number 2 range. Depending on how big that range is, he could even slip to in that 3rd tier. Now, he averaged 27 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists last season, was tremendous in helping guide the Celtics towards an NBA championship. But as we see players like LeBron, KD, and Steph edge closer to retirement, can Tatum be the guy that carries this next iteration of the NBA forward? Personally, I don't think so. I think fans in the league are going to gravitate to players more so like Anthony Edwards, like Luka Doncic. They're the guys that I think are going to be more the ambassadors for the league. At the moment, for the last almost 2 decades, LeBron has carried this league on his shoulders. The question is, who is the next guy? I think as a player, he's going to be right up there in that hierarchy in terms of what he delivers. As an ambassador, I guess, for lack of better words, as an ambassador for the game and as a face of the league, I think there's a lot other players that will overtake him in this regard. And I think that partly comes down to, I'm still not sure, as I said, he's a 1A, 1B player on the Celtics. I'm still not sure if he's the best player on his own team there. And if you want to be the face of the league, not only do you have to be the best player on your own team, you've got to be one of the top players in the league as a whole. And I don't think he's that. I feel like this might get a lot of backlash. I know there's a lot of Jason Tatum fans who listen to the show. So it's sure to let me know what you guys think there. Do you think Tatum is a guy who's fit to carry the torch for the NBA moving forward? I don't think so, but let me know your thoughts nevertheless. Okay, I just want to touch on an incredible sporting story here, and that is South Sudan going global. Now, I just want to read some of these points out that it kind of explains the journey of the South Sudanese basketball team. They played in their first major tournament just 3 years ago. They only gained independence from Sudan in 2011, making it the world's youngest nation. It is a war-torn country. They don't have a single indoor basketball court. Not long ago, this team was practicing outdoors on flooded concrete courts as eagles circled above their heads. The entire roster consists of refugees and the children of refugees. And despite all this, they made it from the lowest levels of African basketball all the way to Paris. They've become the first team to ever represent South Sudan at the Olympics. And it's been led by former Lakers player, Luol Deng. He has single-handedly funded this team off his own money. He's paid for hotels, gyms, plane tickets, and everything in between to get this team up to an Olympic level and to make their dreams become a reality. Now, it's just something I wanted to highlight, that some stories just transcend sport. And regardless of results, this team has sparked hope and joy in a country that otherwise didn't really have any good news to print. As I said, they are a war-torn country, and now here they are on the global stage, the South Sudanese basketball team, and putting in a hell of a shift. It is fantastic stuff from both Deng and the team as a whole. They're just, might I say, just one win away versus Serbia from qualifying from the quarterfinals as well, which would be just an incredible achievement. But regardless of how that plays out, what they've done for South Sudan and for basketball and for just instilling hope and belief into a nation is incredible. So tip of the cap to them there. A fantastic sporting story. As I said, some stories just transcend sport, transcend results. It's just fantastic to see the power that sport can have. Okay, finally here is Josh Giddey. Is Josh Giddey a player that's going to be able to flourish in Chicago next season? Now, what I've seen with the Boomers across the first 2 games suggests that he will. In game 1 versus Spain, he had 17 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and went 7 of 12 from the field. In game 2 versus Canada, he had 19 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and went 3 of 7 from 3. As I alluded to at the top of the show, game 3 is later tonight against Greece. At the time of recording, by the time you listen to this one, as I said, it will have come and gone. We'll know if the Aussies are making the quarterfinals or if they're bowing out. But regardless, Josh Giddey's had a fantastic tournament thus far. I think he's just looked super, super competent on both ends of the floor for that matter. And his stroke, he's hitting it with such confidence. It's for basketball, you can miss shots, but they can still be good shots. He's taking good shots. He's looking confident with it, which is absolutely key. We've seen in little flashes throughout the last couple of seasons that his confidence sometimes wavers. His form and technique kind of goes out the window. He does a lot of flailing. His stroke looks super, super tight at the moment, and I just love how aggressive he's been at the moment, especially in the paint. That was no better evidence of that in the first quarter against Canada the other night. He had 10 points alone and just looked hungry to contribute. This is, for me, the Josh Giddey I want to see more of. I spoke in odds and ends about how exciting I think the Bulls could be. With the starting five next season of Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Zach LaVine for now, Pat Williams, and Nikola Vucevic, as I said, I think they should cause a lot of teams headaches. Now, if they get this level of production out of Giddey, what a bonus that is. I think a lot of people have been very quick to dismiss him over the course of the last few months, how his tenure with OKC wound up. I think it's quite unjust. Across his young career so far, he's averaged 14 points, 7.5 rebounds, and nearly 6 assists. I truly think this run with the Boomers could give him the confidence to put in a huge season with the Bulls. And hopefully just that change of scenery can reinvigorate him once again. I love seeing him perform. I'm a huge believer still in him. As I said, I'm not quite sure why people have jumped on the hate bandwagon so quickly. I don't think his performances were that poor, but absolutely loving what I'm seeing from him on the Olympic stage at the moment. Hopefully can carry the Boomers later tonight to a win against the Greek Freak Giannis and Team Greece and book their spot in the quarterfinals. It's fascinating to say the least, guys. I'm absolutely loving Olympic basketball at the moment. On that note, I'm going to wrap this one up so I can go get myself set, get this episode uploaded, and then tune into what I'm hoping is going to be a cracking game. As I said, we're about to enter the final stages, should I say the quarterfinal stages of the Olympic basketball tournament. I'm loving it. Hopefully the Aussies can push forth and derail the dreams of Canada, and namely Team USA. I'll be back to break it all down with you next week. It's sure to be a massive week, both from the Olympics, and I'm sure plenty of news coming out from the NBA. Till then, though, guys, stay up to date with all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. Subscribe in wherever you listen to the show so you never miss another moment. I appreciate all your support, guys. It really does mean the world to me. And on that cheerful note, I'm going to leave it there. Till next week, have a fantastic week, and I will speak with you all very, very soon. Take care.